What's up, friends? Eric Krummaker coming at you from Real Estate and Shit. This is episode number 16. Thanks for tuning in. As you guys know, first and foremost, be sure to subscribe below. Not below, but subscribe below. Leave some comments, good, bad, or ugly. We love anything that you guys have to say. Again, thanks for tuning in. I got some really cool people here today. I got a new, not a new guest. I have a guest that hasn't been on it for a while. So let's introduce the guest immediately. Let's introduce Carrie. Carrie White, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Glad to be back.
Do you go by Carrie White or Carrie Krummaker?
You put me on the spot like that. Carrie White.
Damn, never mind. Anyways, we'll go to our most important guest. The guest of honor today, we have Chris Fox. How's it going, Chris?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Fox.
It's nice to have both of you on the show today. I'll be honest with you. Having you two, don't get me wrong, I love Sadie and I love everyone because everyone's so amazing on the group. But I like having you two as a dynamic partner for this because you guys have really unique perspectives. You guys have been in the industry for a very long time.
Right.
So you guys go really deep, and I think a lot of listeners will love when you two are on the podcast. So, I'm glad I was able to schedule and pencil you two in.
You are welcome.
Oh, thank you. Oh. All right. So it's been a while since we've all gotten together and have done a podcast. A lot of things have happened since we last met. I think if I'm correct, the last time we met, it was during the skies falling on us days where everybody was talking about a recession. We are trying to maneuver our vocabulary of like calling things a deceleration and like trying to get creative with things because we are trying to convince our buyers and sellers that as much as we can't forecast what's going to happen in a year, we have a really good idea with all the things facts in front of us that we knew what was going to happen, or we had an idea of kind of what's happening today. So,
you know what I like most about that word?
Yeah.
Is it was right.
It was so right.
Yeah, we were right.
You were right.
You're
I knew
preaching
we were
that
going to be
stuff,
right.
and your gut tells you that, but you're like, am I going to look like
So
a fool in 30 days?
Chris,
I'm always like,
And
time
it's
will
like,
tell.
no.
time will tell.
Time will tell.
Chest is puffed.
Yeah.
And we were right.
We were right.
I told you.
I told you
Still
so. You know, it's
Still
very interesting because I was actually talking to Sadie last week with Mike on the podcast about if you were to watch our podcast from day one to where we are today, we literally called everything as it was happening based on the articles that were coming at us through mainstream media. And we went against everything that was happening. We talked crap in all the articles. We gave the facts of why we thought a lot of what they were talking about was not accurate because these people writing articles are not in real estate. They're in, big story buildings that just write words and try to get hype. So let me ask both of you guys. It's been about 2 months, maybe around there since our last talk. How's the market since when we talked 2 months ago to how we are today? Let's go with Chris first. Chris, how's the market?
I think it's just a game of stop and go.
Okay.
There's been no drastic
Red light, green
changes.
light.
We get multiple offers when rates dip, and then we get the lights turned off when rates increase.
Musical
So
chairs.
It's just,
Okay.
exactly. It's
Okay.
just, as soon as that music stops, everybody's trying to find a chair.
It's so funny. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Good perspective. Carrie, what about you? How's the market in LA?
Well, it's a good point, the stop and go. Buyers right now that I'm speaking to, new referrals and whatnot, they're very educated.
Yeah.
They know so much where it's almost like you're confirming and elaborating on what they're saying with examples or your facts. So buyers right now are studying more than anything.
You know what? I'm actually going to piggyback on that, and I'm going to say the reason why they're smart is because, in my opinion, the people actually who are buying right now
smart.
are the smart people.
True.
They're the ones who've done the homework. They know exactly what to do. They know the risk of what they're doing.
And you know what else supports that is how fast they react to a change in rate.
Yes.
They're not boop-a-doo waiting for, to
Yeah.
come around Main Street. It's
Yeah,
overnight.
yep.
Like rates change and I'm not writing offers.
Correct.
They're that in tune with.
So it's a very
And they
smart,
know-
educated buyer out
Yeah,
there
they
right
know the
now.
inventory. They're like, well, I've been waiting for things to come down a bit. I'm trying to capitalize, but it's not happening. No inventory is coming on. Prices are still strong, so we need to get in. The rates keep going up and down, so we just want to have a game plan where we can jump in, like you said, stop and go.
Agreed. And we're going to talk.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about this, and it's very interesting because in the last 2 days, actually yesterday, rates drastically went back up again. They went from the high 5s to the high 6s.
Chris blamed that on me.
Literally,
It was all your
I
fault.
said I had a feeling.
I had a feeling last night. I'm like,
Damn it, Carrie.
Well, they went to 5.9 2 weeks ago, and we were like, yeah, telling everybody. And then everything we went to see that weekend with buyers had, 10 offers, 13 offers, 12 offers. We're writing 50 over, 100 over. I'm like, what? Is this like, last May again?
Well, it's
last April?
Crazy because Tom was actually, he had it on his Instagram, and he's always talked about this one saying. He said, when rates go up in an elevator and they go down on an escalator, which makes a lot of sense. Rates went up 1 point overnight. But we're going to see it go down back to high fives slowly over the course of the next few months. So it's going to be interesting to see it spike again. And then as it lowers up again, you're going to see these people jumping back in, trying to catch the time, trying to catch the rate, time the market. And it's going to be just this game of musical chairs over and over again. When does it stop?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask. Do you guys think that this is going to just be kind of the new norm for a while?
With the interest rates, I think there's higher power there, kind of messing with everybody.
Yeah.
And they're not addressing the real problem, but that's
what's the real problem?
The real problem is the housing inventory.
Okay, so
the amount of people buying houses,
and I think
lack of inventory.
I think that is the main point of why things won't change, is because we're so light on inventory. So what's the solution that gets us out of this? Because the way I'm looking at this, because I look at the economy as a whole. What'd you say?
People dying from
You're
COVID.
so funny. I look at the economy as a whole, and as I look at all the things that are happening that create our rates being moved up in the housing market with the job reports and inflation reports, this is what I see. I love that the housing market is getting stronger again, but I also do see the rates increasing and justified, because I feel like the United States society, or just who we are as a people, we're like a bunch of little kids. They take the rates down. It's like, let's all run to the store as fast as we can and empty our wallets out. And then what that does, it creates another wave of inflation rising again, and they have to go back and do this. So I don't know when the end of this is, but I do think the huge problem is inventory. But it's crazy. I haven't talked to one person, now that I'm sitting with you two. No one I know, not Tom Ferry, not Keeping Current Matters, not Inman, no one's actually talking about what is the solution to get out of this. And it comes down to inventory, but how do you fix this?
Well, I feel like they're not taking a true stance on their objective and actually, doing what it takes to accomplish their goal.
Okay.
This kind of like tiptoeing through back and forth, like uncertainty and
like the Fed, you mean?
Well, it's a lot like COVID and the protocol and the things
Exactly.
that, they're just not going for it. Like if you want to correct it, then fucking correct it. Let's see some 11% interest rate.
Well, I think what they're afraid of that is
it's like just the tip.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great point, and I know for a fact what this is, why they're doing this, because the Fed is walking a fine line, and he is surely walking a fine line on true recession. There's been this talk of a soft landing and hard landing. I will tell you, if there is a hard landing, we are all in for one. Because if they do raise rates to 11%, we could be out of a job for 6 months. You know what I mean? It could literally just halt the market altogether. But again,
did you hear there's an oceanfront homeless shelter? Might not be a bad thing.
That's so funny. Right. But it goes to the problem, Chris, because I don't find that being a solution. So let's say they halt the rates to 11%. And they really pause the housing market to really correct it. What does that do to the inventory, though? That doesn't correct it. Nobody's going to move at that point. So I don't understand a solution here.
Yeah, I don't know if that is the solution, but I just feel like...
No, I'm with you, because I think that is part of a solution, but what is it?
It'll drive prices down, and things will be more affordable. They can lower rates down and kind of play with potential... I don't know, but I wonder. Just feel like...
I don't think anyone has an answer. I'll be honest with you, because now that I'm speaking and talking about this currently... In all my groups, all my coaching, no one's actually spoken about this particular subject. What's it going to take to change this? Or in all reality, like Carrie dipped on, what's it going to create for people to start moving again and inventory to picking up? Other than...
It becomes like a desperation. Like the amount of people that are moving back in with their parents right now is huge because they're trying to save money for their house because, the prices keep going up. So there's a higher percentage of people moving back home, which I had done in my 20s for a few years to save some money.
Okay.
But when you're in Santa Monica, you look around and there's barely any skyscrapers or anything above 4 floors, if that. So you have an entire sea of an area that you could build up that you would not block anyone's view. Okay. You wouldn't even block the skyscrapers. There's a lot of opportunity for inventory to increase.
Okay.
You've got a whole slew of commercial spaces that are vacated and not being used. So there are very easy solutions that the government, that the cities don't want to put into place to help us with housing.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm going to kind of we'll ask the question, we'll end with it and go on to the next. But I will say this. I agree with you, but I think what tends to stop change in cities like Santa Monica when it comes to expanding is there's so much red tape. You know, they put in these ordinances where properties couldn't build over 4 stories, and then that stopped all the if they change that and they allowed people to build up again, I feel that would be even more detrimental to Santa Monica, in my opinion, because I do like that things aren't so high. And I feel like if I walked around skyscrapers in Santa Monica, it would change the entire feel of Santa Monica.
So you agree that politics and politicians are the number one problem across the board for everything
of course.
exists?
People you're like, I don't want to change. I'm not saying everything should be a skyscraper. I'm not saying everything, but there are certain areas and certain zones that you could look at the impact of what going up, the views that block in the landscape of the city, that you could make changes like that.
I agree.
And you could change the building requirements, like having to build low-income housing for any new construction project makes developers not want to build at all.
Yeah, it's the worst idea ever. Right? They should actually designate buildings for low income altogether.
Absolutely.
They do, but I mean, the fact that they force it on other buildings blows my mind. Let me ask you guys a quick question. Based on our conversation today, where we're at currently with the market, what do you see happening for the rest of the year going forward? Because we're closing out the first quarter right now. So the next 3 quarters, the next 9 months, what do you guys see happening? Do you see the same type of thing happening?
Another opportunity for us to be correct in 6 months, by the way. Right.
I'm interested. Well, I'm interested. This is a what do they call an inflection point, in my opinion? So what do you guys see happening? Because I have my own opinion. I'll go first if you want.
I think it's going to continue what we did last summer. We have stop and go. We have people halting and just not doing anything. Okay. But then the right property comes up and they're like, fuck it. I want it.
So stop and go for the next year. But let me ask you a question.
With a lot of highs and lows.
Stop and go last year, there were some long stops.
There were some long stops.
Yeah. So will the stops be more frequent or less frequent for the rest of the year in your prediction?
I don't think there'll be more or less. I just think that's what we'll see. Everyone's watching and jumping in. So you get people, and you have these conversations with a lot of buyers who are very smart. Like they get it, they understand the data, and they're like I even have a guy right now that's like, screw it, like let's go on these offers. I'm gonna go to 6 places. Let's just write. I can see the writing on the wall. Okay, who was watching it.
Huge. The buyers' confidence are back. They see.
Yeah. True.
There's no true.
They've accepted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
I think that the feds have figured out like the cause and effect of their actions, and I think they'll just kind of play with it.
I agree.
For the rest of the year.
They think it's fun. The housing market is such a hot topic, but it's like this is where people like go to sleep at night.
I don't think they think it's fun. They take this serious because what matters in the housing market really does matter for the rest of the economy wherever it works, whether it be jobs, whether it be new housing, commercial. I feel like we're the blood of of how things tick and turn in the United States.
So you look, they're talking recession. You look, I go to Dry Bar regularly for blowouts. Like, it's impossible to get an appointment there unless you're a week in advance. We're looking at hotels for your 40th birthday. Everybody's invited. And, what used to be $1,000 Ocean View suite is now $2,000. Cars, like, everything is so much more expensive.
So what?
Where's this recession?
That's
Everyone's
why
loaded.
I threw the 11% out there. Like, let's just get it over with. Let's fix it, and then we can rebuild from there.
So what is your prediction for the rest of the year, Chris? What do you see going? Do you see very similar to Carrie said?
Yeah, I think we're just going to have more of the same.
Okay.
Less homes, they say 50% less homes have sold.
I'm going to go on 2 routes. It's going to be one of the two, in my opinion. I think we will have either stop and go, very similar to what Carrie said, where there will be rates dipping and people jumping in and then going back up and they stop. Or we really have a hard halt this next year in the next couple months based on inflation going up, them having to, what Chris say, drastically just say, hey, this is what we need to do, put our foot down once and for all, drastically raise the rates 8.5, really just stop things and then slowly go down. But I'm going to tell you, what the psychology blows my mind away is this. 6 months ago, they raised the rates, or even less, whatever it may be in time frame, from 3s to 7s, correct, right? Everyone blew their mind away. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's way too high. And all of a sudden, they slowly went down. we haven't seen a 5.5 for a very long time. All of a sudden, rates get to 5.5, and people are like looking at it like it's 3 again. They saw 5 like 3.
It's perception,
I think it's still
too
sensitive to, in comparison to the value of the home.
It is.
So if we got some, reduction in value.
Agreed. I honestly think that with the rates, the philosophy of raising rates high and going back down slowly, I think it changes your perception and your own philosophy in your mind, where all of a sudden you thought 3 was, or you thought 7 was high, but all of a sudden you accept 5.
599 is exciting.
You know what? Yeah. I think 599. I think 6.2. I think 6.3
is exciting.
Over this next raise and dip, it's just going to slowly go higher, and people are going to accept the slower, higher rate. So it's very interesting. But I think we're all on the same page of where we see the rest of this year going.
There's just nowhere for it to go, is what I keep saying in our conversations. And you're definitely more the black sheep in all this. You're like, well, we got to be careful, or this or that. And I'm like, the problem is the amount of Americans who need to buy a home and the lack of inventory. They said 10% of Americans were trying to buy a home last year, and which was, I think, how many million was? I need to pull the stat. But it was like 50 million homes, and only 6 million and 5 million homes sold the last couple of years. So there's a lot of millions of people trying to buy a home. And they said, what did they do if they didn't buy? They either moved back in with their parents, or they decided to rent, but they didn't buy a home. So there's this whole pent up. What I think is really going to happen.
I'm going to get into this in a second too.
Well, my long-term theory is that the baby boomers' kids, like you and I, there's a higher majority of them not having kids anymore. So then once, people start to die off, you'll have a lower population, because it's going back down as, less people have kids.
Sure.
And then you'll have more housing again. So it will correct, but I think it'll be 10 to 15 years.
Timestamp that for 20 years, this little clip, and come back and hold it against her.
That's my long-term theory.
All right. So we're going to move on from this conversation, and we're going to get in a couple articles, because these articles that I'm reading to you guys basically circle to what we just talked about. So I'm very interested to see your guys' opinion on how this shapes out based on our conversation. So this first one is actually from The Ringer. I've never actually pulled an article from them before, but I saw it the other day, and I thought it would be a great one to start with. So the headline is, Why Everybody's Wrong About a Recession and Housing's a Great Comeback. So it says, last fall, 3/4 of voters in CNN, this is not what I'm talking about. It says, a Bloomberg economic model said that the odds of recession by the fall of 2023 were 100%. But we're not in a recession. The unemployment rate is lower than any month since 1960. Real disposable income is growing. The economy is expanding. Consumer spending is strong. Even housing seems to be rebounding. In today's episode, this guy named Derek explains the origins of the Great American Recession myth, and Bloomberg writer Cohen breaks down the housing turnaround that could define the 2023 economy. So it goes on and says, last year we came through the show during what felt like a peak in recession fears. In 2022, we had a conservative quarters of negative GDP growth. People were losing their minds about the imminence and inevitability of a recession. And I went to Zag. And I brought to you help. Says, so now I want to do another podcast because the housing market seems to be rebounding. The housing market, which was crashing throughout 2022, seems like it may have hit a bottom, and just the bottom. The bottom just might be a trampoline, because some of these numbers are going to come up much faster than I anticipated. So it says before they get in the numbers. Sorry, Carrie. No.
Yes,
so
now it's a great time to buy.
Yeah. Buy the fucking house.
Okay. I didn't go through the whole article because Carrie was giving me some looks. So you're agreeing on this article. You're agreeing that everything looks really good heading into 2023, Carrie.
I found my stat. Okay. What I was saying before, maybe we could cut this in. So nearly 30 million Americans, 10% of Americans, plan to buy a home in 2023. In all likelihood, just a small percentage of them will succeed, because only 6 million homes sold in 2021 and 5 million sold in 2022. 70% of Americans who had planned to buy a home in 2022 did not succeed. Some made offers that were not accepted. Others shelved their plans because they couldn't find affordable homes. That is a crazy stat.
That is a crazy stat.
Supply and demand.
It is supply and demand. And actually, I'm going to scroll down here because I have an article for that. And tell me what you think about this, Carrie. Okay. To kind of go against. Not against it.
You should go against.
So this is an interview with Grant Cardone. So it says, economists have been calling for a housing crash for several months. Some even predicted that housing would fall as much as 20 to 30% in 2023. While these claims are understandable considering that rising mortgage rates have priced many would-be buyers out of the market, it appears that a different scenario is beginning to play out. I'm interested in both your opinions on this one. So it says, best-selling author and real estate fund manager Grant Cardone agrees that the housing market is in trouble, but points out that investors will create a demand to keep the market from crashing. He says, banks don't trust borrowers, and those that they do trust will have to pay. This will move homeowners to the sidelines and slowly reduce home prices. Investors will then step in to pick up single-family homes at a lower price with less competition. That being said, there will be no housing crash, said Grant Cardone. Investors like myself will save the day and step in and buy the homes, put renters in place, and enjoy them for the cash flow, not the kitchens and cabinets. What do you think about that? Based on your article of all these millennials.
He's just predicting the prices will go down. For what reason? Nothing valid. And then he says all the investors are going to come and buy the houses. So there's all these investors who want to buy the houses. And if the prices go down, look at all these people who couldn't afford the house earlier. So aren't they going to jump in? Like, there's just no common sense behind these statements.
Well, it brings in the argument, Carrie, like you talked about. There's a low inventory problem that we have. And we are kind of in a high rate situation. A lot of would-be buyers who are probably in their 30s and early 40s might not be able to step up and bite. You know, it's funny, Mike out there, he's buying homes up like candy right now. So investors are out there. They are purchasing. They are buying up a lot of it. Like Jesse right now, he's out there buying.
There's tons of buyers.
But you know what's happening right now? You know a lot of buyers who aren't buying? A lot of their clients. So why is it that investors are out buying right now?
Well, tell the people who's their clients.
No, like buyers, agents, their clients. A lot of them are on the fence.
Non-investor.
Correct. They're still on the fence.
Right, because they're not as educated as they need to be if they're not prepared to make a decision. Because why are all the investors trying to buy?
I think it's an affordability calculator.
That's what I think.
And they don't love what they see for what they need to pay to get it.
That's what I think too.
They don't want to move somewhere else or get a different type of house. That's what I say to people. It's like,
I agree.
You and I wanted to be in the Palisades so badly that we got a townhome over a house. Where do we have houses? Somewhere we don't want to live full time. So you're either making a sacrifice to better yourself for the future or you're not. And that's just the reality of it.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
Especially if you were shopping prior to rates increasing and you were like excited about buying a home and now you're like, I don't want that. This is what I have to buy now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we see prices going based on this?
Well, I think a lot of my clients are doing ARMs, 5, 7, 10-year ARMs where they're getting rates under 5. I don't have any client recently that's closed with a rate over 5.5.
Okay.
That's always been my question: how creative will lenders get again?
Really creative.
Yeah,
buy downs and credits.
And I think these are great products that they offer. It's funny. I was watching two podcasts last week actually, and they were critics of the ARMs and the different products that lenders are using. And what they're saying is, in the future, what the person who's getting hurt in this is the buyer that's using these. It's eventually going to turn around and bite them in the butt. So what is your opinion on stuff like this?
I think the only bit, because we did have a true crash the last time around, and they weren't lending in a responsible manner.
Okay. I agree.
Stated products.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree with it. I think ARMs and anything that is creative when it comes to lending is really good, especially when things are just so high right now. You have to get creative. I want to be the devil's advocate to throw that out there. What do you guys think when I see random people out there?
The qualifications to get a 7-10-year ARM are higher than a 30-year fix.
That's what I don't think people talk about.
Exactly. I have clients that don't qualify on, that are making over $1 million a year, and they're not qualifying on 7 to 10 year. They have to do a 30-year fix.
And high five for the lending institutes to,
I agree. Well, they need to stay in business.
Exactly. Yeah, lenders are the ones really hurting.
Correct.
Right now because people aren't refinancing, and the refi market's definitely out.
Yeah, no one. Come on, who's refinancing right now? They need to really level out for us.
The focus. Karen's like, why would you move if you have a 3% interest rate? And it's like, I don't know, because your place is too fucking small, because you're getting divorced.
Obviously, the demand's there. There's plenty of reasons to move.
And
Agreed.
It's not just your rate too. Like, your monthly payment's going to go up if you're moving anyways.
Quality of life. Chris always talks about
quality of life. Not everybody's obsessed with their monthly payment.
So, where does this lead us to? We think there's going to be a stop and go. Where are prices going to be driven to this year? Are they going to go even higher? Are they going to remain the same? Because as we talk about this conversation, as I'm trying to process in my mind everything we just spoke about, I still have a cloudiness that just hangs over about where's the solution on all this? Like, where's the end result? Like, I don't even see it. I don't even see what it would look like if this is all going to come to an end sometime in the near future or long future. Like, what has to happen for things to eventually level out on both sides of the playing field?
It needs to be the government. It needs to be
supply.
The amount
Supply.
of building,
Supply.
Construction, the laws. Like Santa Monica keeps beating
Can
down.
we even build enough?
Yeah, we need to build 4 times as much as we are building in California.
Shocked at some of the areas that are being developed right now.
True, very true.
Like our landscape is changing drastically, so I feel like the efforts are there.
Okay.
And
Have
there
you been
are.
up and down the 15 freeway lately?
I don't even know where that is.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know what that is. That's funny. She always asks me stuff like Glendale. I'm like, where's Glendale?
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm like, Woodland Hills. He's like, where? I'm like, oh.
Woodland, do you know where Woodland Hills is?
No.
See? Oh, I love that. See, out here, we just don't know.
Right, but you've been living in LA for how many years, and you still pretend like you don't know where
It's over the
Sherman
hill.
Oaks is.
It's over the hill.
Oh my god.
Yeah, okay.
Like, where are we going again? I was like, by my parents. Like, oh, did they live in the valley?
Okay, so we're on the same page. But again, we haven't even answered the question on prices. I'd like to, before I get off this podcast, I'd like to understand where you guys think prices are going to eventually go towards.
I don't think they're going anywhere. I think we had our dip.
Okay.
I think that's where we're at.
Okay.
And we're just gonna, have multiple offers when interest rates drop, and we're not gonna when they increase.
Okay. I'm going to ask you both
prices.
something a little differently, both in the housing market, both because you guys are in 2 different ways. First, I'll segue over to Carrie. How can Airbnb be a benefit to the housing sector? I mean, is there a way that people can use the Airbnbs to help, bring more inventory or help, renters, or are there any solutions in that way? And then second is on Chris, on the flipping side, like how does investing, how does that help our problem, or does that help our problem at all? Either of these 2 markets, because us being in real estate, we're able to use our real estate knowledge to dip into other things. Do you guys see an advantage of that in the next year or so when it comes to buying flips or buying more Airbnbs? Like, how does this work for both of your fields?
I don't think that Airbnbs decrease or increase the values of an area. I think it's just a niche market, and not everybody wants to own an Airbnb.
Are you looking for Airbnbs over this next year?
Right now? No.
Okay.
Just because we've just opened Element.
I understand that though, but running an Airbnb
right
business, are you still out looking for Airbnbs?
I will eventually, yeah.
Okay, that's my question.
Definitely, yeah.
Not like currently right now, you specifically just you. I'm talking if you're in Airbnbs as a company and this is what you did, are you out still buying Airbnbs?
You'd have to look at the numbers. The Airbnb, the occupancy rate has gone down because it's a luxury good, and people have pulled back on those a little bit. People are traveling outside of their city more, like outside of California. They're getting on planes more so. So yeah, the numbers have gone down, occupancy has gone down, et cetera, but there still is a good, healthy demand for them. I would look in other areas that have good Airbnbs, but I really don't see it impacting the housing market or homeless crisis by any means, because people that are renting Airbnbs are not the type of properties that low-income people are renting. They're usually much nicer.
Agreed. Okay. What about on the investing side? Are you trying to buy up any flips over the next 6 months?
I'd love to.
Hell yeah,
absolutely. That's kind of where my mindset shifted to.
Okay.
I'm conflicted because I'd like to flip homes as a hobby. I think it would be fun. It would be something I would enjoy to do.
I think so too.
But I'd like to acquire real estate for, long-term investments. Yeah, that would be my number 1 goal.
Portfolio.
Absolutely.
You can do both.
Well, yeah, that's the goal.
The ones that you want to keep, you keep. The ones you sell off, you sell.
Yeah, it's a maturity process. I'm getting there. Hopefully by 60 I'll
60. Well, we have Mike in the office. Oh no, you have your guy. You have your guy too. I've only flipped 1 property, and it ended up being okay. I didn't lose any money on it, so I'm happy with it.
It was bad timing for
you. It was terrible timing. It's random things that scar you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you do it, you don't have the best experience. You're like, I don't know if I want to go through that again.
You put it on the market right when COVID hit, right?
I did. It was right. It was just none of it was great. Like, just wasn't the best. But I would like to get into it because I'll be honest with you, it's not that it was a lot of work. It was actually pretty nice work because, you'd go to the property, you'd, see what type of work they've done, talk to the contractors, put your spiel of what you want it to look like, get your, fix the right things, put it up for sale. It's almost like, as much as you own the home, like It's like you get to buy your own home and sell your own home within 3 months every time. So it's like this feeling that you get.
That's
it's fun.
my problem too, because I talk to other people that flips and they're like, Fox, you can't be emotional about it. You just got to do, it's a mathematical equation. I'm like,
I'm an emotional guy.
I wear this shit on my sleeve.
But I love the home.
But my dream is to have like a signature line, like a higher end product, like Christopher Fox, like a Gula home. You hear Gula home.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, like, Chris. Not flipping. You should build homes.
Pimp out homes. Go in, Christopher Fox it.
I see it all the time in LA. They're really big, but they'll buy out one home.
Home smart.
And it's their own custom home they build, and and then you buy another one, and then the next thing you know, like my buddy, he buys lots in Rancho, and he built 15, and they're his. It's not like he's flipping in there.
But that's the reputation I'm looking for. In that.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be kind of cool.
Coming here soon, Christopher Fox.
If you had a good product, I'd have you build a property for me in LA. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be badass. Okay. All right. Well, do you guys have any other topics that you guys want to spill on our guests today? Other than that, we are in a stop and go. You don't see prices increasing or decreasing so much this year. We don't really see a solution for where the market is, what's really going to change this one way or another, but we are in for the ride.
Yeah, we've just been in a market nobody's seen before.
Yes.
Where, the 12th year of a 7-year cycle. It's confusing. People just want to stick to what they know and what they've seen in the past, and that's not where we're at. It's just a different world right now, different population, and I truly think the government needs to get involved with building more.
Well, I will leave you with this. If you read that article or listened to the article about Grant Cardone and you listened to us about investing and where the market is and buying and selling, all the smart people that I know right now are out there shopping and buying the right properties for them, for their portfolios, for their families. And that's why we talked about the people out there are smart right now. It's not because they're just smart people buying. It's just the people out there who are buying are smart. So you guys, Carrie, thanks for coming in today. It's been a long time coming. Hopefully we see you sooner than later next time. And Chris, it's always a blast when you have Chris on. Chris always brings a lot of knowledge. So
thanks for having me.
Appreciate you guys. You guys, thanks for tuning in. Leave some comments below. And we're excited. We'll see you guys.